Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Now we're going to go to our next topic, which is Automation Studio. What is the Automation Studio? Automation Studio is basically a place or application in Marketing Cloud that helps us to create the automations. Now, what automations? Automation basically helps us or allows us to automate certain activities and tasks, right? Let's say if you want to send the email, here we are going to learn. First of all, let's see the interface, what all we have got. When we come to the automation, we have the overview and activities. In the overview, we can see a folder structure. We can create our own folders to save the related automations. Next to the folder structure, we have the name and description. We can see in a particular folder what all automations that we have, and you know what is the progress in the last run. When we go to all automations, it will show all the automations that we have created inside the Automation Studio and its progress and the last run. And then we have the summary. Summary you can check. Let's say I want to see, let's say in last 1 week. Let's say I want to check in last 1 week. What is the status if you don't have? Different automations and their status. These are the different automations that were executed in the week of January. I mean, this is not that useful. We don't use it. Where are your friends? And next we have the activities. Activities are those tasks that you can automate, right? We have one send email activity. That's something you can automate. If you want to import the file, we can do that in SQL query text. We'll be talking about all these things. But activities are basically the tasks that you can automate inside the Automation Studio. Now let's click on New Automation to create a new automation. And here. Let's say if I tell you that you need to do this task right. I think the basic 2 questions that you would be asking to me that when do I need to do this and what I need to do this right. If I'll say to set up this automation, obviously the system will ask these 2 questions that as part of this automation, what needs to be done. Like what thing that we need to automate. And the second thing is when we want to run this automation or when this thing needs to be done. To answer these 2 questions, we have 2 different sections that we'll be talking about. When we should run the automation, we can configure this any of these starting sources. We have schedule, file drop and trigger. And once the automation starts, like we have the starting sources right. Once the automation starts or it starts running, then what all activities that we want to run or we want to execute. Here we have couple of activities in that we can automate. Now, when you go to automation, you would see 3 different types as the summary, in which the summary or the overview of the automation would be summarized. Basic properties like name, description and all these things of workflow. Workflow is nothing but what all activities we have. This workflow is basically summarized from this entire tab. and then the recent activity. Recent activity means you know what all recent actions that we have made, like recent runs. It will show. And the recent tab. First, we will be talking about the starting sources, that how we can run the automation. Let's say if we have a pre-defined schedule that we want to run this schedule, or we want to run this automation at a particular date, or let's say for this much of duration at this particular time. Let's say if I want to send a course schedule, or maybe let's say the agenda of the class prior one day, then what I can do, let's say if I have the class is scheduled at 9 p.m. right? I'll have to send it maybe let's say one day prior. What I can do, I want to run this every day. Let's say if I want to start this automation from tomorrow, let's say from 9th of February. And what I want is that at least by 9 a.m. in the morning. And here we can choose the time zone as let's say IST, which is this one, and we want to run this let's say every day, once in a day. And if we have three options, either we can end it let's say after one occurrence is never, or on date. Let's say we want to end it on date. Let's say on maybe March 31st. When we schedule this, what will happen? This automation will run every day at 9 o'clock 9 a.m. right? Every day until this date, 31st of March. When it will start from tomorrow, that is 9th of February, we can click on that. This is the schedule that we have configured. Now this automation will run with the help of this schedule, and then here we can have any activity. Let's say we can have the send email activity. What will happen? This automation will run and we will send the email to all the students, and in that email there would be a schedule of the next day class, right? Or the evening class. This is the way that we can schedule. But this can only happen when we have predefined schedule that we need to send this every day and at this particular time. But let's say we do not have a schedule. Let's say we are dependent on the data from the other team and we don't have a proper timing that when the other team will, give us the data, and we can only send the email when we have the data. In that case, what we can do, we can use the file drop option. Let me just delete this for now. Next, we have the file drop option. Before understanding this, let's talk about the FTP first. The storage system in CSOs. We have three different servers. There's FMC platform where we can store write something. We can store the data in the form of data extension list. We can also upload images files, right? FMC platform where we can save the data. Now there's another location that is called Safe House. Now Safe House is basically a temporary location where we can save the data for up to 21 days. Since the name contains safe, it means it is safe and secure, but it is only used for the temporary storage. We'll talk about the use of and the application of Safe House later, maybe in today or tomorrow's class. And then we have another storage system that is FTP server. Now this FTP server, basically you can use to store the files, and this is similar to your local desktop. Only inside a local desktop we have C drive, D drive and everything right inside the C drive. We have a lot of folders. Right inside D drive, we have a lot of folders. Similarly, in the FTP, we have this root folders, import, export, and trigger send. Inside these folders, we can create as many subfolders as we want. What we can do? Let's say there's another team that is called. It's a sales team right now. The sales team will basically upload the data on the FTP server, and from there we need to pick the data into Marketing Cloud, and then we need to send the email to all the leads or the prospective customers. You know the sales team is sharing. We need to send an email to them. Maybe you know about the product information, or maybe some other email that we need to send. But the timing is not decided. Whenever they will share the data, we have to send the email. In such scenarios, what we can do, we can use a file drop. Whenever the file will be dropped on the FTP server, we need to send the email. Or like we need to start the automation. The FTP server, contains many folders. We have to choose a particular folder, that in which folder the file will be dropped. Then only we can start the automation. We can, expand this, and here we have many folders. Let's say I'll click on, let's say D. Whenever the file will be dropped inside the D folder, which is inside the import folder of FTP server, then the automation will start now. Here we have two options. Let's say somebody by mistake have dropped the file in the folder, but in that case we don't want to run the automation, right? Here we can also, put one more restriction, that the file name pattern. File name pattern means that irrespective of what is the file name of the file which is being dropped, we are going to start the automation. But in the second option, we can choose the file name pattern, that if the file name which is being dropped contains, let's say customer, then only start the automation. Or maybe let's say sales data, anything that we are using as a nomenclature for the file names. If it contains that word, here we have multiple options. Contains to begins with, ends with. If we can use the file name pattern, that only the correct files or the eligible files should trigger the automation to start right inside. Fa, I'll take the decision. No, actually like the thing I have bit like still confused. Like when I'll save an example, like when you want to share few files with us. When you drop a file to the team, they will be sending mail through all the batches. For that purpose, we'll be using this. When I share the file with the team, that's what you're referring, right? And the team will be like sending, like automatically. You're processing that, like it will be sent to us like automatically. No, basically what I do, that is a different process. I basically share the files with them using Gmail. I share over the Gmail, and they basically download from their Gmail, obviously, and then they upload to the portal or whatever the platform is. That is a different process. But the concept like I'm like here, where we'll be dropping the files like, and how can we still, I'm like not clear there. Actually, we don't have a visualization. I think that is, might be confusing you. You can understand this in a way. Let me show you. You can imagine this my system as a FTP server. Right now in the FTP server, we have many folder site. I'll be showing you. Let me show you over here. We have C drive, D drive, things like that, right? Similarly, in the ftip server also, we have many folders. What we are configuring is that whenever the file will be dropped, let's say in program files, this is the folder. Whenever a file will be dropped into this server folder or into this particular folder, our automation should start. Automation will basically start running, and once the automation starts running, it will basically execute all the activities that we will be configuring in the automation. It will basically run this activity and things like that. I don't understand. Let me show you. Let me try a few. Using this activity, we can basically access the FIFP server. Let me show you. This the FP server basically contains, import folder. Here we have, this is the ftip server where we have this import folder. Inside that we have all these folders, and here we have all these fancies .txt, .cc. Whenever a file is dropped into any of the folders, then what happens is then it will basically start the automation. As well, move forwardness, you will start understanding more. For now, you just can remember that there is something called ftip server, and we have this file drop starting source, and how it works is that if a file is dropped in the FP server, then it will start the automation. Let's delete this now. Now, the another starting source that we have is trigger. File drop only works with the FP server, right? The FP server which is provided by Salesforce. But let's say we want to start our automation whenever a file is dropped on any other server, Let's say we have this Amazon server, right? We have this Oz, right, or any other server. Whenever a file is dropped on that server, we want to start the automation. For that, we can use the trigger. There is something called file location. Let's talk about the file location first, that you will get a complete understanding. Let me just duplicate the tab. We'll go to Setup. Or you can also go to Email Studio Admin, which is the file locations. Here we can also create a new file location. File location is basically a path configured. Let's say we have this system right now. What we can do? That instead of telling the entire path, what we can do? We can have a short name of that path right now whenever we will use that name. It means we are referencing that complete path, right? Let's say that the path of this program files is this one, right? C program files and things in right. It could be longer, right? Instead of referencing the entire path every time, whenever you want to use it, what we can do? We can give a short name to this entire path, and instead of using the entire path, we can just use that short name. Let's say, let me just click on create button. I want to basically, let's say, import the data, or I want to push the data, give it here. In this example, what you're going to do is that we want to basically configure a file location. whenever the file will be dropped into this particular location. We want to start this automation right. How you can set up that? Here, you can basically use this Amazon one in the Amazon bucket. Here you need to mention the bucket name path and everything and all these things, right? What we will be doing, and we can give a file name to this. Now we are saying that whenever a file will be dropped into this file location, right? But what we actually mean that this entire information, right? Instead of configuring this information again and again, we can basically save all this information as part of one file location. And here we can reference that one file location where it will be dropped. This one is already created. Let me show you M3, this one. Let's say here we have this, bucket name, access key ed, access key, all this information that we need to fill. And then whenever the file will be dropped into this OS packet, then what we can do, we can start the automation. And the difference between, the trigger and the file drop is that the file drop will only work with the TEEP server, which will provide the Salesforce. But the trigger can also work with the file drop is not only in the file drop. Is the file drop, is the file drop, is the file drop, is the file location or any other server. Here we have multiple options if you want to store the data or if you want to basically import or export the data. We have this enhanced FEP site import directory, which means your import folder of the FEP server. Next one we have, let's see external FEP site. If you want to, use any external FTP server to pull the data from that server. Or let's say if you want to trigger our automation for using that FTP site, we can do that as well. It's like establishing the connection. We have this Marketing Cloud account, and if you want to use any other FTP server, you can. If you want to use any external FTP server, the enhanced means the FTP server provided by the Salesforce itself. We have Safehouse, and then we have this, AWS and things like that. We have talked about 3 different starting sources. One is scheduled, where we have the predefined schedule that when the automation should run and at what time when it will end. The file drop means whenever a file will be dropped inside any folder of the F8P server. Then we can start the automation. The third one is that whenever the file will be dropped into any other different server like a AWS running server, and then we can start the automation. This is about like how or when the automation will start. Once the automation starts, we have to configure the activities like what all activities that we're going to run send out far. First of all, let's talk about the data extract activity, and then we'll be talking about the file transfer and import and other activities. Click on this and either we can choose an existing date extract activity or we can also create a new date extract activity. And now let's understand one use case over here. Let's say we have this Marketing Cloud team and we have, let's say, Sales Cloud team. Now the Sales Cloud team does not have the access to the Marketing Cloud team, but we need to share the data. How we can do that? What we'll be doing? We will be storing the data in a data extension and using the data extract activity will extract the data from the data extension and then we will push the data. We will basically export the data to the FTP server, and since the sales team has the access to the FTP server, They will be downloading the file from there, the SFMC file, and then they can access the data and they can use the data in order to implement this functionality. Well, what all things that we need to do? First of all, we should have a data extension where the data is stored, and the next thing is that we have to use this data extract activity to extract the data from the data extension. What happens is, when you extract the data from the data extension, it will not be moved directly to the FTP server, but first the data extract activity will basically extract the data from the data extension and will create a SFMC file out of it. Now that SFMC file will first be placed inside the safe house location where it is temporarily stored for 21 days. We can move the file from safe house immediately to the FTP server. Otherwise, like if we do not move off for like within 21 days, then it will be removed or deleted from the safe house location. We have the file in the safe house location. Now we can immediately move the file from safe house to the FTP server. Now inside the FTP server, we have to choose a file location that where we need to move this file. And then what will happen? The sales team can access that file. They can download the file from the FTP server. Let's see this in action. Here we can give a name. Let's say extract data from D. The file naming pattern. This is basically the name of the file that we want to generate. Let's say this is my customer information. Here we have some wildcard specifiers. Basically, if we use this wildcard specifier, it will basically replace the string, or basically it will display the current year. Similarly, we can do current month and current day, and in the end we have to also add the extension that .sesv game. The CC file that will be generated. It will be basically customer information 10, and then it will have the current year, month, day, and then .c.cv extension and the extract type. Here we have three different types of extract. We have to use this and date extension extract. I click on the next button. Here we have to enter the customer key of the data extension that we want to export or from where we want to extract the data. Let's go to data extensions. The data extension that we had created, this one. We'll click on the state extension, and here we have the external key. We can copy this. We'll come over here and we will paste it. The file that we have, it is the SFMC file, right, comma delimited file. That is why we have used a comma. That is a comma delimited file, and this file will basically contain the header side. That is why we have to check the checkbox and click on next button and click on finish. We can give a name to the automation and we can click on zip. far, we have seen that. If you want to start the automation, then we have these three options, right? But let's say if I'll schedule the automation, now then we have to set a time. The token at 9:45, it should run and things like that, right? That is a time taking process. Like we should only use the starting sources when we want to schedule, and it will automatically run. But let's say for the testing purpose, I want to run it manually. How I can do that? I can click on run once button and then I can run the automation manually as well. Let me click on this run once now, and I'll have to select all the activities that I want to run. At different steps. In this step number 1, we only have one activity, and I'll click on this run button, and then over here, I'll click on run now. In the activity tab, it will basically start showing the activity that we have just executed. If it doesn't show over here, we can click on this. Refresh button to refresh. Here we can see that the automation is in the running status. We'll keep refreshing to refresh the status of the automation. Now it is complete. We can see the complete and we have the green icon. Now far what we have done, we have basically extracted the data from the data extension, created the sys file out of it, and then it is placed on the safe house location. Now one thing we need to do is that we need to move the file from safe house location to the FEPI server. In order to do that, what we need to do? We have to use another activity that is called a file transfer activity to transfer the file from safe house to F server. But how do we get to know that if the file is actually moved to the FP server or not? Since we do not have the access to the FP server, we will be using the import file activity to see what all files we have inside the tip server. The file that we have generated, it is customer information right Azure 10. We can check our import folder. We are going to push the file to the import folder only. The file name, we don't have any file. We only have one folder, but we don't have any file with the name customer, right? Once we remove the file from the safe house to the FP, we should have that file, right? That it starts with customer. Now I'll click on. But before doing that, let me copy the name of the file because that we would need. Let me just copy this entire thing and cancel this. Now we'll configure this file transfer activity. Click on choose button. Either we can choose the existing, but we have to create a new file transfer activity. Here we can give a name, let's say move file from safe house. Here we have two options. Either we can manage the file or we can move a file from safe house. This one we'll talk about in just a while. For now, we'll go with this option that we want to move a file from safe house location, and then we'll click on next button. Now here in the file naming pattern, we have to write exactly the same name which has been basically sort of like moved to the safe outside. It is basically asking that the file that needs to be picked from the safe house location. What is the name of the file, right? We have to give the accurate name of the file that needs to be paid from the safe house location, now where it needs to be moved. Here we have the destination. All these file locations, that's the ones we already have seen in the setup right in the file location. We can choose. Let's say this one, this is nothing but your import folder itself or inside the ftip server. We don't want to encrypt the file. We are good. We'll click on the next button and click on finish. Now I'll save the changes in the automation. I'll click on run once button and then I'll select this activity. We don't want to run this activity now. We'll only select this activity, this step number 2, and click on run button and then run now. What it will do? It will start the automation and this activity will be executed. Once this is completed, then we'll be able to see whether file has been moved from safe house to the FIP server, and we can also see that file. Let it complete first. It is completed now. Let me just choose the import file activity. This is the here. We can also choose that one, this one, right? This will show the same thing. Now I'll just do the Control F. This is the file that we generated, right? Customer information Salterton, and that is the current year, current month and current day and .sesiv, right? This is how what we can do. We can push the data from our Marketing Cloud data extension to the ftip server. Now any team or anybody who has access to the FIP server, they can basically download this file from there. Now how you access the FIP server? For that you would need one FFP client like FileZilla. FileZilla is basically a free software that you can download, and then using that software we can basically access the FP server. Any doubts, Supara? What I understood is like in order to send our Marketing Cloud, like data exchange order data to external system. First we need data extract activity. It will be responsible to place the file in the safe house location. Once we have the file in the safe house location, and then we can use another activity, that is file transfer activity, to transfer the file from safe house location to the FEP server. Import activity. The data extension will be replaced in that import activity. Actually, why I'm using over here to show you that the file has been transferred to the file location, to the FFP server, because we do not have access to the FileZilla, right? I'm just using this as a hack to show you that virtual files we have. We will talk about the import activity in just a while. The import activity is used to import the data. Right now, I'm just using this as a hack to show you that we have the file inside this location. Otherwise, how would I be able to show you that we have got the file, right? Let me close this, Rahul. One more thing, once you open data, extract, edit, edit properties, properties, next time, next, where we have selected data extension that we want to send. That is important actually. We have to mention the customer key of the data extension that we want to export, or that from where we want to extract the data. We have copied the external key of this data extension. right? We have copied this one and we have pasted over here. This will basically equal to this will basically allow the system to fetch the data from that date extension. Fine then. Oh, you have used the schedule, right? Then file drop also. No, I have not. I have not used the schedule. Actually, we have not configured this right. I'm using this run once button. Run once button is used to run the automation manually, because the schedule I'll only use when I want to run the automation on an automatically basis, right? That it would run, let's say tomorrow 9 p.m. Whenever I want to schedule later, like in the future, then I'll configure this. I have not configured this now. Why I have used this one? Let's say delete this one. Then if I'll have the file drop one, then my run once you know feature will go away. I will not be able to run the automation manually, this run once. Functionality is only available with the schedule option, but I'm actually not using the schedule as such because I have not configured this right. I have just dragged and dropped just because that I can get my run once option. It doesn't go to their server, the FIP server. It just testing, right? I mean, we are sending the file to the server, but right now we are just executing it. We are just running for our own demo purpose, right? We are not actually automating this entire process now. Right now, I'm running for one time, right? I'm running manually. Once it is run, now we are good, right? We are not turning again and again and again. In that case, I mean, if I want to schedule this, let's say if I want to run on a daily basis, then I'll be configuring this. I'll click on configure button and here I'll choose. Let's say I want to run daily you know at what time, you know everything. But I have not done that right. I'm running this automation manually. Rahul, one more dot. File drop is there. No, the file drop also. But it will be work for sending a file from SFMC to external system. Only schedule will work in this use case. No, these three are the starting sources. These are the activities. Starting sources are only responsible to start the automation, right? We are clicking on run once button. What we are doing? When we, let's say, click on run once button, right, and we choose our activity, let's say, and here we have the run button, right. What we are doing? We are starting the automation. That is starting. The automation will be done by the starting sources. The file drop or schedule or trigger can only start the automation. Now, after starting the automation, what will happen will be decided by the activities that we have configured inside the automation. First activity, we have data extract. It is responsible to extract the data, not these options. These options will only help you to start the automation. That's it. One more thing, you said like file drop from external system will get the files, right? A file drop. What file drop is starting source will basically allow you to start the automation. If a file is dropped inside the FIPI server, when file is dropped, in this case we are sending from, I want to say, to external system. There could be use case, right? There could be multiple use cases, right? The use case that we have seen right now, let's say if we want to share the data, let's say in the data extract, we have this email, let's say tracking data. You know, the email opens, clicks and everything. Now we want to visualize this using Tableau or any other visualization software. That is the capability that we don't have in Marketing Cloud. We have to export the data to another team or to another system that they can use this data and create a visualization report, right? In that case, we have to export the data, but let's say we want to send an email to the leads, right? or to the prospective customers, but we don't have the data, that data is basically with the sales team, right? What they will be doing? Let's say they will be uploading the data on the FTP server since they do not have the access to Marketing Cloud. They will be uploading the data to the FP server, and from there we have to pick up the data. For that, what we will be doing? We will be using the import activity, but we don't know. I mean, when they will be uploading the data to the FTP server. The file drop, basically what it does. Whenever they will drop the file, the automation will start and we can import the data. A file drop basically instantly starts the automation. Whenever a file is dropped on the FTP server, please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.